If anyone does this and then they personally DM me that for some reason they weren't successful after doing line by line what I just said, I will personally Venmo you $10.
This is John Hu, the founder of Standstore, a creator platform that has helped thousands of creators generate hundreds of millions of dollars online through their content.
There's someone who literally has made $70,000 selling a $12 guide. It's like everything from a Midwest mom, a single mom who's used Stan to escape an abusive relationship, make $250K in her first year.
How have they done it?
The only consistent pattern between all of them, the people who make a lot of money, are just the ones who post every single fucking day. In a non-AI world, I would argue that probably one of the reasons you haven't done that is because of the sheer amount of work, actually. The AI we've built now just compresses all of the work and the muck and the shit you had to do before.
What would be a realistic path if they wanted to monetize?
This is the sauce. This is really the sauce. So if I was starting up from zero and I wanted to build with high certainty $100,000 business, I would start first with obviously posting content, and then
you said we have over 70,000 creators making over $250 million for themselves in just a couple of years. And that pace is accelerating massively. And so, John, I wanted to start where you started, the 70,000 creators. And for the person that's sitting at home, they clicked on this video. Who are those people? And then the second part, why do you say that you expect that pace to accelerate so quickly?
Because already since then it's 90,000 and we've crossed $600 million made for creative entrepreneurs. And the people that those are people like you and me, right? It's our stories of growing up with very little, immigrant kids in some way. And what is so incredible about this internet economy is that no matter who you are, what you look like, what you care about, if you just have a dream and you have the hustle and you actually take action on that dream, you can actually break out. Because for the first time in society, we have a leveling playing field of your phone and the internet where you can sit there and completely outcompete the biggest companies in the world by making great, helpful content to people, build your own audience. And through that, now, especially with AI, it's on another level. It's like truly on another level of allowing you to build whatever you want and to build your business. And so when I think about all the different unique stories we have that we support here at Stan, it's like everything from a Midwest mom, a single mom who's used Stan to escape an abusive relationship, make $250K in her first year, move her child and herself like away from that relationship across the country, helping other mompreneurs, building her own kind of mompreneur business, all the way to, I think of Stone Fredrickson, who is 18 years old, who in his first 2 months, legally allowed to have a Stripe account, so a business bank account. He made $100K. All the way to Milkmaid Farm, who is in her mid-30s. She lives on a farm in North Carolina near where I grew up, and she's made hundreds of thousands of dollars, high six figures, specifically selling a guide on sourdough bread baking, right? And how do you live a healthy lifestyle? And so there's all of these different pockets of like niche interests that exist in the world, and whatever you're passionate about, you now live in an age where if you have the hustle and the desire to go do that, you truly, truly can.
Yeah. You know what you just shared, and maybe it shouldn't be, but I think it is actually quite a contrarian take, especially when you bring in like AI into the conversation, right? And so I'm curious for you, why is it that you have this different take and you're so bullish on the fact that, first of all, this ability for like the everyday person to be a content creator, and then secondly, actually AI helps enable that? Like, why do you believe that?
I will be happy to go on record and say that as much as society and the news and media will lead you to believe that the world is getting worse and worse and worse, which it is in many ways, there's also never been a better time to make it as well. Because at the end of the day, what is AI other than a tool? But now with these tools like AI and also content creation, anyone can not just be a content creator, but an entrepreneur. Anyone can build their own audience, build their own resilience, build their own agency, build their own audience. And the people who will succeed are the ones who hear all of the noise of all of the fear and all of the stress and all of the hatred and all of the anger and set that to the side and realize, if I'm going to succeed and survive in this world, then I have all the tools I need to build and stay in my lane, and ideally be one of those people in the good pocket of the world that actually just like tries to serve and create value and starts to bring on a new paradigm that isn't entirely just fear-based, because that's our onus to do so.
Yeah. You know, take me down the rabbit hole for a second with this. And so I'm curious for you, when you say that we're entering a reality where everyone could potentially be an entrepreneur. What is the effect on society, on people, like if we get there?
You have to think about all of the deep amounts of personal insecurity and mental blocks and emotional blocks that we have to get through to succeed in that journey. As in, if you even think about creating content as a lens for broader entrepreneurship, in order to post your first video, right? You were talking about how, you were hesitant to post your first 10 videos. I was so hesitant to post my first few videos. Why? Because we're all terrified of what other people are going to think of us, right? We're fearful of that random person from high school or what that ex will think, what have you. And so just to go out and put yourself in the world in some way, which is entrepreneurship, it's being an artist or a business person, whatever you call it, you have to get through so many mental blocks, so many fears and so many insecurities. And then what happens after you start building an audience? Well, then you start building a business, you start learning how to put food on the table, which is an incredibly difficult thing because then you're vulnerable in a different way, right? Then you're asking someone to buy something from you. It's terrifying. The fear of rejection, the shame that we'll feel when you launch your first product just doesn't feel good enough because you're still working on it. Point being is the reason why I'm so passionate about this journey of entrepreneurship and giving it to so many people is because it's not actually about the entrepreneurship. It's number one about giving as many people as possible financial security in a world where financial security is not a given anymore, which is terrifying. But number two, what's more important is the layer underneath is the agency and the self-confidence you give all of these people. In a world that is so incredibly destabilizing and terrifying right now, the feeling and emotion that we need to give as many people as possible is their own sense of stability, which comes from their own deep belief. Because I know you probably feel this way now. You could lose your channel right now. And I know that you know in the same way I know, I could lose everything and I'd be completely fine. Because I have all the core skills and beliefs and the identity required to make it in another way. And so that's why our mission here at Stand is so deeply important, obviously for our business, but what we believe as society at large is giving as many people as possible that sense of belief and agency.
Yeah. It's so important. And I think to your point, there's a certain confidence that comes from living an authentic life.
Yes.
Like a congruent life.
Yes.
And it's interesting, John, just as I listen to you speak and I pay attention to your mannerisms and the way and the energy that you speak with, I can feel that it's like deeply personal to you. It's more than just even like just a business to you. Why is that? Like, why is it so personal, so meaningful to you?
Because it's just my own journey, right? It's me growing up as like the immigrant kid of a single mom, struggling to get by, questioning all of the things that I'm doing in society, whether they're right or wrong, whether I'm going to make it. It is a deeply personal journey to me. And what I know to be true is, despite how hard it's been for me, it's also been deeply worthwhile. I'm very grateful for what it's forced me to become and how it's forced me to grow in different ways. And I know that if you can give that to as many people as possible, we'll have a society that actually works a little bit better. Because I myself am exhausted from hearing about all of this shit. Mm-hmm. And what I've realized is I can sit there and listen to all of this shit and listen to it take over my life, my sanity, my friend's sanity, my friends' lives, or like we can be the change that we want to see in this world. And so it's deeply personal to me on all fronts.
Yeah. It's right in the beginning of the conversation, like, you mentioned some of the people that have built through Stan. You said over $600 million of like they've created through using Stan. And I think about the single mom that you mentioned, like the Midwest single mom, or like the working professional. You call it the Stanpreneurs.
That's correct.
And so it's interesting what you do now, especially when we take into account your story and your context. And the fact that you start at Goldman Sachs, you get like this prestigious job, in venture capital, you go to Stanford Business School, like you do all of the traditional things. And then you leave it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to get to why you left. But before that, I'm curious, just even being at these institutions.
Well, first from the outside, when you're a kid who has nothing, what you see is, holy shit, if I get those things, I'm going to make it. And so the first few years when I was hustling to get those jobs, I cold called my way to a job at Goldman. I was so hungry. It was that sheer like immigrant kid who wanted to make it hunger, like that 8 Mile M&M hunger. Like, I'm going to fucking make it. I'm going to run through walls to make it. And that energy serves you, dude. Like you just run through it. And what you see at those institutions is a couple of different things. Number one, I'm very grateful for those experiences because I learned so quickly. It accelerated my learning and growth of how the world truly works, and also how to get in the rooms with people that I had no business in being in the rooms with. And therefore having the credibility to eventually launch my own business and have the trajectory that I've had. I've learned all the different patterns around how do you build a billion-dollar company. But what you also learn is that most of those people in all of those places are very snobby and also very miserable. And so I would look up at my boss's lives, right, the senior partners, and I would be sitting at my desk as this like lowly analyst working 100-hour weeks, like cranking at my computer, and two desks down from me, one of my senior partners was like yelling at his wife on the phone, and you're kind of like, yo, like I don't know if I want that. And there was this very visceral moment I had actually in my next job in private equity and venture capital, which was a dream job. Truly, I loved it. I worked really hard in it. And my bosses were great to me, but there was this one dinner we were going to meet with a founder I had sourced to sell him on potentially investing. And I was with one of my senior partners at the time, and he said, John, this could be you one day. And the dude clears like tens of millions of dollars of carry every year. And I was 24, 25 at that time, making $400K a year in the mid 2010s. Like that was a lot of money for that age. And I just remember having this visceral moment of like, holy shit, I'd rather blow my brains out. Like I would truly, to do this for another 20 years, I couldn't see myself doing it. And so it was really in that moment that I realized, for me at least, my career was a lens through which I would explore broader fulfillment and broader senses of passion. Like I couldn't, the way that I'm wired, unfortunately, is that like I just can't spend more than half of my waking time doing something I don't care about. Life is too short. And so what I found in all of these institutions is, one, genuine value and immense education, but two, also a true sense of a Wizard of Oz curtain, where when you pull it back, you're like, oh, this is all just like completely made up vanity stuff in society. And yes, I have the privilege of saying that now, having achieved those resume logos, but truly there's nothing behind the curtain at times. And in fact, most of the people behind the curtain are quite miserable. So
yeah, I think about the progression of you like getting to that moment, especially with what you mentioned, that you grow up with a single mom. You grow up from, you said I came from nothing in many ways, like from humble beginnings. And so I think about this moment, you call it like a visceral moment, where you're like, that life, like I got the thing that a lot of people are striving for. And you're like, I don't want that. Was that a gradual progression, or it sounds like it happened in like a moment of, this isn't for me?
If you want the truly honest answer to all of this, I think it all starts with one's childhood, right? If you really think back to and sit yourself in the experience of that kid who grew up in North Carolina, so the South of America, immigrant single mom, late 90s, early 2000s, you can imagine no one looked like me. And so the reason I mention that is, if you play that out, what does that mean? As a kid, that means you just get bullied a shit ton for how you look. And what do you want as a kid? There's nothing you want more as a kid than to fit in. And so when you grow up in a media environment, in a society that tells you, hey, if you just do X and Y things, you'll finally be loved and validated and fit in, aka for an Asian American, a model minority, it would be to get a great job, to become a doctor, a lawyer, or have a great job in business. And so I say all that to say is, I think the middle school hurt little child version of me thought and had assumed that if one had achieved fame, success, money, wealth, what have you, then they would be happy, they would be accepted, they'd be validated, they'd be fulfilled inside. I didn't know at the time, right? And so when I think about a lot of the things that did drive me at that age, that got me to barrel down the door to get into a job at Goldman, to barrel down getting a job in private equity, to then get into Stanford Business School, to even start a business in the first place, a core part of that drive initially was that hunger to make it. There was also just that natural Kobe energy that we all have. Like, I just want to become great. But I'm very willing to admit that so much of what drove me in the early days was just this hurt, right? Of like, I want to fit in. I want to feel these things.
Yeah. The misery. Because I think a lot of people have done that projection, right? They've looked at the senior manager or the person that's 2 promotions up from them. What does their life look like?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, they're at the office every morning until 2 a.m. They never see their family. They're like miserable. They're out of shape. Like we've done that projection. And so you kind of see the end of the game. Like you see the end of the line and you're like, I actually don't want that. For you personally, was that a scary place to be in?
Okay, real quick. I wanted to show you guys this example pitch deck that I created using Gamma. And so if you're watching this episode, I think you'll find it incredibly useful in helping you monetize your content so that whenever a potential lead from social media asks you for more information on your offer, rather than spending hours and hours repeating the same information to each individual person, you can just put all of that into a simple pitch deck, similar to this one that I just created, and then just send it to each potential lead. It's a game changer. Before Gamma, you couldn't really create a beautiful pitch deck like this without being a designer or having a ton of money to go and hire a designer. And so you'd be stuck repeating the details of your offer to every single customer. It's this painstaking process that I've experienced firsthand. But now you can create a pitch deck like this so easily. And so to give you the behind the scenes, all I did was come into Gamma, click this template right here. I then hit create and then just describe an example offer in a couple sentences. And it generated this entire deck for me in just 20 seconds. And if you don't love the initial output, you can just tell Gamma's AI agent exactly what you want to change, and it will make all of those changes for you. The AI agent is a game changer. And so if you want to create something similar to this for yourself, just go to the link in the description to get started with Gamma today. Thank you to Gamma for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to it.
At the time, it wasn't, because I had such a sense of self-confidence. I was lucky to be born with a mom who truly believed in me, that I just knew I'd figure out a different path. But I will say at times now in this current journey, oftentimes the path starts to dissolve, and that's very terrifying because you no longer have the, associate to senior associate to VP to partner track to be like, okay, I'm doing a good job in life. Instead, you're like, what the fuck do I do as an entrepreneur or an artist? Like, what does that fucking mean? What do I do? What's the thing that's going to keep me on the guardrails? And I think what I've learned over time as I've listened to very wise people is that they often say that when the path dissolves, that's when you know you're actually on your right direction. So
That's so good. You know what? It's I think about I don't know if they do this here, but at school, like going to school in the UK, you'd get like the gold star on your homework.
Yeah.
You did a good job. And I think a lot of the times in life, it's like we're looking for that gold star to check the boxes. And you actually said this. You said, I checked all the boxes that I thought would make me happy. But you have this realization at some point in your life of, wait a minute, I've been given all of these stories of what's actually good for me. And I need to decide what's actually good for me. And that feels like such an important moment of like, I need to decide what's actually good for me. Even when I read that out, what is your thought?
there's a lot in there because we want it all to some degree. And what I've realized is you can't have it all at the same time. I think ultimately end goal, when I think about the people that I want to be like, the people that I respect, I think it's people who've built a really incredible family and a really incredible family life, right? They have, they're probably an hour or two out from the city, maybe 30 minutes at most. They've got a big plot of land. They're probably growing their own vegetables and maybe have a little bit of a farm themselves, but they were also very successful in their careers as well. But they weren't greedy in that. They weren't incredibly aspirational or obsessive to, let's say, the Elon level, which I very much respect people like Elon and what they've done for society and what they will continue to do. But I think I've realized that for myself, my path isn't necessarily that. It's to ideally find that well-integrated vision of a life that has both the humanity to it, of like the deep, meaningful, fulfilling relationships, the loved ones, the partner, the children, the close friends, while also finding the right balance of creative expression and success through the lens of your career, through the lens of your art. That for me is when you ask me that question, I think of what will truly fulfill my soul. It's ideally to have both. And so I'm going to try to be a model that can prove that you can have both.
Yeah. I actually think I think it's very relatable. And I think it's very, it's commendable that you've reached like a point of clarity of what you want. And I think for a lot of the people listening at home, because we're going to get into, what's a realistic path that someone could take, someone that has a 9-to-5 or a job or some level of expertise in something. What's a realistic path that they could take to monetize using content creation, even if they have a small following? So we're going to get into that. But before we do, I want to start with kind of like your initial moments with creating content, because speaking to you today, you've been like successful in making content as well as an entrepreneur, right? Like you're about to hit 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, nearly 200,000 followers on TikTok. You have 100,000 followers on Instagram, 60,000 plus followers on LinkedIn. Like you've done it. But we all remember that feeling of like in the beginning, you're just scared to even create. Like you're scared to even post. And so can you take us back to those like initial moments with creating like that first video that you make?
So I want to set the scene for everyone. It's deep COVID. We're all stuck in our rooms and TikTok is blowing up. So we're all doom scrolling TikTok. And I'm in grad school. I'm at Stanford Business School, where everyone goes there to build the next billion-dollar company or go off to McKinsey or Goldman Sachs and have their white shoe firm, what have you, and just feel really haughty about their lives. And meantime, I'm like, fuck it. I don't want to go back to private equity. All these jobs that you guys are hustling for, I would truly rather blow my brains out for. And so I'm sitting here doom scrolling TikTok, and Gary Vaynerchuk is on my feed yelling at me to start posting because it's going to change my life. And something about what he said was truly like, it hit me. I was like, you know what? He's probably right. And there's something specifically that Gary says in his content to this day I'm so grateful to him for, that I want to share with everyone here listening, because I hope it will be so helpful for you as well in your life. Is he was just like, give. Just give immense value and you will be okay. And so when everyone thinks through what is my first video going to be, what that is, the logic there, and I'll tell you through the lens of my story, is what am I really good at and what am I really passionate about? And so the first ever video, you can look it up on my TikTok. I was very lucky that it went viral. The very first video I ever did was what was tip number 1 of how I got a job at Goldman Sachs. Specifically in that, if you piece together what that actually means, is I was asking myself, why would anyone watch my content? It's because if I were to give inherent value, then yes, of course they would watch my content. And what for me I'm really passionate about was, how do you help any underrepresented kid get their first dream job? Because that was just fundamentally my story. And so I say that to say, when you think about what kind of content you want to make, as well as the first few videos you want to make, just ask yourself, what did younger you need to hear? Because you are for sure an expert in whatever journey you've gone through. And our jobs oftentimes in business or in content is to help someone go from point A to point B. And so my point A there was like, if I was a hungry kid who wanted to make it, what did I need to hear to accelerate my path? And I just made that exact video. And you just keep chaining those videos, right? You keep making 10 of them, knowing 8 of them will flop, but 1 or 2 of them might actually do well. And you see, what is the signal of that? And then you just keep iterating and doubling down, despite what any of the judgment of your peers might say, which is probably a story for another time.
Yeah. Given what you do with Stan and like the tens of thousands of creators that successfully monetize using Stan, that you see their journeys, but then I'm sure that you also get messages and speak with people that have like these deep limiting beliefs around creating, like they can't get over that mental hurdle. And so I'm curious to understand, for those people that don't create, like they don't just take the simple advice, what do you see as typically the reason why?
My super honest answer is that they don't want it enough. Like 80% of the people who watch this will not actually take action to succeed. And I hope that the 20% of people who are watching this actually take the advice here and go for it, because you're noting that the secret to life and secret to business is actually in many ways incredibly simple. It's just you show up every day and you take the action despite any of the emotional toil with it, despite any of the excuses you can make of like, oh, like I have this thing, well, I was busy here, I was busy there. At the end of the day, it's actually the same pattern, if you think about it, as going to the gym and losing weight. People overcomplicate it, but all you actually have to do is just show up every single day and then eat healthy. That's actually, when you talk to the most successful powerlifters, athletes, people who are in shape in your life, it's probably just some combination of for years, I have been consistent about going to the gym and eating healthy. There's literally nothing else. I can sell you the diet supplements. I can sell you a Weight Watchers program. I can sell you all this shit. But the people who get it done are just the people who get it done. And so my hope is that for everyone who's listening, who really wants to get it done, it is actually this simple. And I have the data to back it up. I have the qualitative anecdotal data of meeting the most successful creative entrepreneurs out there. Right? They're all investors in Stan, Stephen Bartlett, Gary Vee, the Hormozis, all of these people I'm very lucky to spend a lot of time with and learn from. And then 90,000 creative entrepreneurs who we serve to help make a full-time living. The only consistent pattern between all of them, this is the only consistent pattern. It's not that they were super attractive or super funny or a crazy personality. It's that they showed up every single day and they post every single day. It's not that they had the best product in the world or they had the most unique insight in the world. The number one correlative factor between someone on Stan who makes a lot of money and who doesn't, the people who make a lot of money are just the ones who post every single fucking day. That's it. And most people are too scared or too lazy, or they will make too many excuses of why they can't post every single day. But you can. You could actually just in this time pick up your phone, share the number one insight that you wish you had 5 years ago, and just post it and let it rip. You could do it right now.
Yeah. You know, to that point, I remember seeing a video from Gary Vee where he's speaking with a woman. I think she owns a business, and she's saying that she wants to create more content, and she's like she starts going through this this long story of why she hasn't done it. And Gary interrupts midway through, and he's like, "Just take out your phone right now. We can 60 seconds. We can post your first video right now." And you can feel the fear that she has of doing this, but it literally is that simple. And he does it with her, and they post it, and the video performs. I guess I'm curious for you. You know, even when I watch that video, the thing that goes in my mind, because I felt this, is especially in the beginning, on an identity level, for most people, we don't see ourselves as creators. We don't see ourselves as why would someone tune in and listen to me? And it's like that fundamental identity level belief stops people from creating. And so given what you do and the fact that you've seen the journeys of 90,000 creators, can you just pull out a few examples of what you mentioned in the beginning of the everyday person that you would never expect to be able to monetize or make a living from doing content that has done so? And in how have they done it?
Sure. So I'll give so many different examples because there's so many different random niches you can make money with on the internet and build your own business. I immediately think of Eddie Abiu, who's in his mid 60s. Dude's absolutely yoked, ripped. And he's crossed 2 million pounds made on Stan, specifically helping anyone get fit in their elderly age. I'm like, if Eddie can figure this out at his age, you can't use any excuse of how you're not tech savvy or you don't know to pick up a phone, you don't know to make content. Eddie's in his mid 60s ripping a $2 million business, right? He's crushing it, selling a $20 guide on how to get in shape. It's not crazy. You just make content that's valuable, you share your personality, you go for it. Another one that I absolutely love, my first ever client that I ever implemented Stan with, a woman named Tatiana Londino. She is so badass, so charismatic. She's a real estate agent, right? So this is of every different industry. Just realize that social media is just the new age marketing channel. And so in the old ways that real estate agents would take out a picture of themselves and put it on a seat at a bus stop and you'd sit on their face, apologies for the language, now they just do that on social media, right? They're just finding some sort of way to advertise. And Tatiana Londino, she sells real estate coaching. She also books listings through her Stan store, right? And she does that all just sharing her story online. And so there are all of these little stories like this, whether it's the Stone story I mentioned he was 18, straight out of high school, didn't have to go to college, he was making so much money, or Janessa Harris, the mom that I mentioned before who escaped an abusive relationship. There are so many of these stories of people who just, in whatever passion niche, whether you're a dentist, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're an accountant, whether you're super passionate about fitness and wellness or organic living, there's so many random pockets. There's coin trading, there's psychic spirituality, tarot. There's someone who literally has made $70,000 selling a $12 guide on how you as a parent can help your kids build pillow forts. There's so many random things that you can do. It's just the determining factor of whether or not you end up being successful in that is whether or not you have the balls to actually go out there and post 10, 15, 20, and then ultimately over time 100 videos to learn how to market your product, market yourself, and therefore market your business. That's it.
Yeah. You know, I think about that. I think about that first moment when you make money from doing content.
Oh, it's a sick feeling, dude.
Why do you even have because you have the reaction to that, that first moment.
Yes.
Can you talk about it from the lens of your story? And then also, why is that such a mentality shift? Because I've had that same thing, which is you make that first dollar from doing content. And a lot of the times it's not even with a big audience. We have that almost that limiting belief as well. Oh, I need to have millions of followers before I could ever make money.
Totally.
And I'm not a celebrity. Like, why would I do that? I don't want to be famous. Can you talk about that first moment?
Okay, so quick one before we get into the episode, because we have literally gotten thousands of comments and messages from you guys on our AI videos in the last few weeks, many of which are asking for additional help or questions about tools or processes. And so we decided that we're finally going to do it. We are going to build our first digital product specifically with you in mind. But before we can do it, we need your help and we want to involve you in the process. And so in the link in the description, we have put a super short form. It literally takes 90 seconds or less to fill it out. And it's going to help us create the perfect digital product that helps you use AI in your life, your content, and your business. Oh, and one more thing. For a select group of people that fill out that form, we are going to give you early free access to our digital product as a thank you. Anyway, let's get into the episode.
Yeah, and we have so many creators who make their first dollar in their first couple hundred, a couple thousand followers. You don't need a ton of an audience, and I'm happy to walk people through how they can make 100K plus with just a couple thousand followers. But from the lens of my story, I hope that everyone out there who listens to this gets to the feeling of joy that you feel when you make that first online sale. That shit fucking feels great. It's kind of addicting. It's sick. It's such a cool feeling. It actually makes me think about when I was a kid watching SpongeBob SquarePants. Mr. Krabs had his first ever dollar. It was like a poster on his wall. Yeah. And as soon as I ever got that first stand notification that I had made my first sale, I was like, holy shit, I get it. But through the lens of just helping everyone recognize what they could monetize themselves, I'll talk about how I made my first dollar. So you already heard before that my first pieces of content were all about how do you as an underrepresented kid get your first dream job. So I was making a lot of content on like, hey, this is how you get your first interview. This is how you cold email. This is how you crush it in an interview. These are the things that people who are interviewing you are looking for. And a bunch of people in my comments were just like, yo, like, can I actually like use your resume? What does your resume look like? What have you? AKA your customers, AKA your audience members, your comments are oftentimes giving you a signal in your DMs or your comments, what you might be able to monetize. And so for me, I looked up my old Dropbox password. I reset my password and found my old Dropbox from college. And I found my 2016 junior year internship resume that I'd used to actually get this job at Goldman. And all I did was I took it and I uploaded it into my Sandstorm, set it for $10. I didn't change a single thing. To this day, there are thousands of people on the internet who just have my literal junior year internship resume. And they use that for themselves because it was a validated resume template that clearly got me success. And I just sold it for $10. And I made a couple green screen videos of me like walking through my resume. It was so lo-fi, so low production. I literally ripped it in my closet. And from there, I made a couple $1,000. I was like, holy shit, this is sick. This is the leverage of the internet. This is the leverage of the scale of the social media algorithms. And then this is just like some random thing I already had made for myself. And so I'd push everyone out there to think about what is something that you've created for yourself, whether it's, for some of our Airbnb creators that teach you how to, buy Airbnbs and rent them out. It's just their cash flow calculator, their own Excel spreadsheet that they use for themselves. Or for one of our customers who's a mompreneur, she specifically has a motherboard planner is what she calls it, which is how does she stay sane and keep track of all of her to-dos as a mom. She just sells that to other moms for $50. And so we all have some version of that we can probably provide other people. We call it templates here at Stan. And that's a really easy way to make your first dollar.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it because I'm excited about this. So basically, John, to give you the context. So what I did is I listened to several of your interviews, specifically around the topic of like what would be a realistic path or steps that someone could follow if they wanted to monetize and make a living through doing content, even if they have a small following. And so I took these different things that you'd said in different places, and I used AI as well. You have to. And I got to like these 3 steps of how someone starting today could do it. And so I wanted to read to you the steps. We can go through each of them and then you can just elaborate on it and we can have fun with it. So the first thing that you said, and you actually alluded to this earlier, step 1 is find your Venn diagram. So find the intersection between what you're passionate about and then what you're an expert in. And if you can find that little place in the middle of that Venn diagram, that is likely something that you can create content about and give value to the world. And so where I wanted to begin, because as we've already said, it sounds so simple, right? It's like, what are you passionate about? What are you an expert in? But I think when you're starting out, it's actually kind of difficult to get that level of clarity. And so I'm curious, do you have like, is it that practical to you? Like, are you literally drawing out, I don't know, on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper, like the 2 circles, and you're putting down, I don't know, all the things that you do? Like, explain how you got to that level of clarity of this is my intersection. Like, this is what I'm supposed to create around.
I don't think it ever starts with that incredible amount of clarity for most folks, which, by the way, for anyone watching, if you just, as we talked about this, literally just draw your Venn diagram now, I would encourage you to do so. At the end of the day, I actually bet you just already know broadly what you want to make. As in, everyone just has a gut feeling. If you just have a gut feeling what you care about, what you fuck with. I never did the Venn diagram when I first started making content. I just made content. I was just like, ask myself, bro, like, what am I passionate about? Like, what do I want to make? It's just that fucking simple. Actually, in fact, most people overcomplicate it. But yes, the exercise does boil down to what is your gut actually telling you? It's something in that Venn diagram. And so what I'd say to people as well, you alluded to, like, most, the expertise of things, some people get fearful over, like, well, I'm not an expert yet in fitness, or I'm not the number one world's expert in business or this or that, what have you. Well, you don't have to make content from the lens of I am the expert. You can also do what so many of us are doing, myself included, is just build in public. It's like, hey, I'm on my journey to being the fittest version of myself and learning about nutrition and learning about healthy exercise and healthy movement. And I'm just going to document that journey and therefore build expertise along the way. And also, by the way, when you do that, you build an even stronger audience connection. But yeah, it's some version of what do I care about and what do I want to be an expert in? And everyone's gut already knows that.
I think you're so right on the gut feeling. I think that it's funny. I've even had the same thing as we're growing on Instagram, like putting more effort into the Instagram side of content. And you tend to have like a few ideas on your whiteboard, right, of what you want to create around or what you could create around. But then there's one idea that you get excited about. Yep. And it's like this very visceral feeling. And a lot of the times you actually kind of push that idea to the side. You're like, oh, I don't want to do that. Usually because it's it can be too vulnerable, it's too raw, it's too close to who you actually are. Yeah. And we have that fear. Yeah. But I think I think that's a really good indicator. What is the thing that you're the most excited about creating? Yes. And typically what happens is the audience can feel your excitement. So it's like it's like a success bias almost. Like the fact that you're excited actually makes it perform better. Like people can feel it. Yeah. They pick up on it. They engage with it. Yeah. I think it's such a good call out. Yeah. Yeah. You know, the second piece of it, and even where you go in your step 2, was show up for 100 days. Yep. And you say, if you just show up every day for 100 days, you're going to do well. It's as simple as you have a post that does well, you double down on whatever that pattern is. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. And I can also teach people how to do this even more successfully with AI. In a second, we can walk them through how I do it in my own flows and how all of our top creators are successful using some of the AI tools that and workflows we've built. But I want everyone to think through this. So now you've chosen whatever piece of content you want to make, like broadly the topic. Now you're probably like, well, what the fuck do I make? Right? What do I make? How do I make sure it looks good? How do I do all of this? So the easiest way to do this is to recognize that the best artists steal. As in, creativity, to a large degree, every great artist will tell you, is just a combination of all the things that we've taken in that we like and that we want to repurpose in our own voice, our own expression. What do I literally mean by this? I'll give you my example. So when I was first starting to make content and document my journey building a startup, I just thought about who are all the creators that I look up to. And so there was once again another Venn diagram for me. I really grew up, I was a YouTube kid. I grew up on Emma Chamberlain and Casey Neistat. I love how they vlogged. It was just like so fun. They're the homies. And then I also really like educational business content. So the Hormozis, the Gary V's of the world. And so what did I do? I realized that my own version of my own self-expression was just to take their proven formats and remix it in my own style, which is I just vlogged what it was like to run a startup. No one had ever done that before at the scale that I was doing. And so I say that to say, for anyone out there who wants to pick their first 10 videos, you probably have 1 to 3 topics that you already want to talk about. You probably have some organic ideas. I want you to already go out and script those. But then what I want you to do is, I know that you already follow a couple people that you really like their content. There's a reason why you like it. Some version of that calls to you. And whether they're doing a podcast style, whether they're talking to you, let's call it a talking head video, whether they're doing skits, whether they're doing narration over B-roll and it's just playing kind of the clips from their lives, whatever the format is, all you need to do is go to their channel and filter by their top videos, their outperformers, their outliers. And you're just going to go and watch those and remix those in your own style. You're going to take a proven format, a proven tension point, a proven hook, structure, whatever it is. And all you have to do is just remix that same video, but in your own voice, in your own style. And I promise you, if you actually do 10 posts, you space them out over a couple of weeks, they will 100%, at least one of them, do decently. There is no, if anyone does this, and personally, and I see this, and they walk me through the method, and then they personally DM me that for some reason they weren't successful, after doing line by line what I just said, I will personally Venmo you $10. I'm so confident in this. I hope this goes to hundreds of thousands of people, and you all do this, and I hope one person even can prove me wrong, because it's such a proven strategy. And so I say all that to say, that's how you get your first 10 videos out, is you have some combination of intrinsic motivation and excitement about a couple of videos that light you up on the whiteboard. Make those. Trust your gut, because your passion will seep through. And then the extrinsic influence and inspiration is just seeing what's already performing in the market, what you're already scrolling on your feed that you like, and just ask yourself, how do I remix this in my own style? And so if you do those 10 posts, let's assume 8 of them will flop, 1 or 2 of them will do decently. We'll get you more than a couple hundred views. Because the algorithm's job is to just serve great content no matter your following size. And therefore, what you're going to do from there, when you show up for 100 days, is you take those 2 or 3 patterns that you get and you just double down. You iterate. You ask yourself, what about this video did well? How do I milk it, for lack of a better? How do I make more videos on this topic? How do I repackage things? All the way up to the point where I'll actually share something that Gary Vee's head of content once told me, which I hope will change everyone's perspective on how much they can feel comfortable talking about themselves and what they talk about. She said to me, John, I hope you recognize that Gary Vee has been saying the same shit for 20 plus years. If you think about it, it's the only thing, he has 1 or 2 core messages and he says the same fucking shit for 20 years. And look where he is, massively successful.
Yeah. You feel like to a certain extent we overvalue the importance of being like novel or being original. I even think about the people that are typically admired for like creativity or as entrepreneurs, as builders, creators. I think about like say what you will about him as a person, but Kanye in terms of like creating music, you know, he seems like so novel, so original. Or like Steve Jobs in entrepreneurship, or the iPhone. You think that a lot of what you describe in content is actually quite analytical. It's this mix of like the instinct and then the blockers.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes it's like that mark of, I have to be original.
Sure.
It feels like a blocker to people.
Yeah, I will say every generation you get someone who's a generational talent who's so creative like a Kanye. And every now and then they are just so incredible at what they do that they can just do these things. I would say most of us are not gifted with that same level and intensity of talent. But even then, if you talk to Kanye and study his process, he studied all of the great artists before him. He obsessed over the musicians before him in the same way that Steve was incredibly creative. But what you're alluding to as well, as I've studied all the top creator entrepreneurs, Steve was incredibly creative and visionary and went off and did his psychedelics, but he was also a business killer. He also knew how to execute after decades of executing in a data-driven way. And so I don't want to delude anyone into thinking, number one, you have to be that original to break out. You don't, because even if, let's do the math on this, even if you get 1 million view video on your quote unquote novel idea to reach 1 billion people, which by the way, there are 8+ billion in this world, you would need to do that video 1,000 more times before it ran out of its quote unquote novelty to those billion people. And that's just the first time. Once again, Gary Vee's been posting the same shit for 20 years. You can do that same video 7 times. And actually, I'll share a quote that a top creator told me the other day. This is the sauce. This is really the sauce here. She goes, you know, John, how I get millions of views? She gets like over 200 million views a month. I take a horse, I raise it, I figure out it's a good horse, and then I beat the horse to death. And then I beat it to death again, and then I raise it again, and I beat the horse again. Very extreme statement. But I hope it helps the creators understand that, like, hey, your job is to come up with that original hitting content and then milk it and maximize the distribution of it.
You know what? Because I want to make this so practical and so real for people. You mentioned the value of like the 10 posts. And if you can just do this analytical approach, which you described, where you're looking at proven formats and then you post the 10 videos, one of them will do decently well. And so I'm curious, for that person that's sitting at home, and they're like fed up. Like they've been thinking about doing content for so long and it hasn't happened. Can you even give like a timeline when you're creating content and when you were growing at your fastest? What kind of cadence were you even posting at? Like if someone's like, okay, 10 videos, when should they have completed that?
Everyone's on a different timeline. What I will tell everyone is nothing negates the power and learning of volume. As in, you can have an artistic take where, you do a video week there, a video week there. But if you think about the difference in your trajectory, if you have 52 iterations in a year rather than 365, it's not a difference in just like 6x in terms of that time. The compounding the learnings over 365 times is significantly higher. And so I don't want to, you know what I'm hesitating? I'm hesitating because I don't want to be hard on people. But I'm going to tell you the super honest truth. The people who will be most successful are the people who rip as many posts as possible in a week. If you can sit there and rip at least one post a week for your first few weeks and just like accelerate that learning, you will be significantly more successful than if it would be easy on you. Be like, oh, well, I know it's hard and you got a lot of stuff. So like maybe one post a week and we can figure out over time. I'm realizing that that's actually me being a bad parent and me being too nice to the kids. If you want to be successful, you need to recognize that the top creators out there, like Hormozy, rips 250 clips a day across all platforms. Yeah. You want to beat him? You know why he's so good at making content, why his content shows up? Is because they've massively tested across 250 different pieces of content what exact lines, what exact hooks works for him. And then he doubles down on that bet. And so my super honest answer to anyone who's just starting is I want you to rip 10 posts in the next week. That would be extremely aggressive. That would be very hard. But for those of you who are listening to this who want to do that, I promise you if you do that plus the formula and process I gave you, the framework before, I promise you if you take that kind of hunger, I'm like, dude, I would fucking bet on that person.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know if I would do that. That's hard.
Yeah. You know what? You mentioned it even in your story that when you first started creating and you're at Stanford, there was like a group of people, let's say.
Yeah.
That weren't exactly the most complimentary about the content that you were putting out. And I think that that's actually a very visceral fear for people is what are my peers going to think?
Totally.
Are my colleagues at work going to find my videos? Is my friends from high school? Can you, first of all, describe what happened?
Yeah.
And then for you, how did you overcome that?
Yeah. And to be clear, I started out 2 posts in a week. Right. So I'm giving you guys 10 to break your mental model and break your fear pattern because I promise you nothing matters and we'll all die. But what I will paint a picture for you is this is 5+ years ago. So it wasn't normalized to be an online entrepreneur and a creator. It wasn't a cool thing at all. It wasn't aspirational, especially in the circles that I had to sit in there. So I want you to think about the scene of the people that I went to school with. Many of them came from immense privilege. Like we're talking not like millionaires, like literal billion, like they were literally billionaires. The libraries around campus were like named after them. Like I was like, oh wait, your last name is also, like it was like that level of wealth and status. And so when people are like competing for certain jobs in private equity and VC and what have you, it's like there's a snobbiness to it. And so when some kid in your class starts making TikTok videos, which is a kid's dancing app at the time, dude, people are fucking mean. And the thing is they'll obviously be super mean behind your back and you hear about it from all your friends, but they'll say snide shit to you. Be like, oh, how's your little TikTok thing doing? Right? Like, oh yeah, like how's your little dancing thing doing? And it was so funny to me because I was seeing that same person walk into a job interview for a job that I had before, groveling for that job and be like, you're going to be fucking miserable. But I say that all to say is like, no matter where you are and what you're doing, if you think about how society works and therefore how you can make enough value, you need to recognize that if everyone is going one way, there's likely no alpha. There's likely no outsized opportunity in that. And the entrepreneurs and founders who make the most money, they're the ones who have a contrarian vision. They're the ones who see an opportunity before everyone else does. Because if everyone else has already seen that opportunity, the alpha has been competed away. And so it is in those moments, the people who have the bravery and the conviction and then also the gall and ability to execute on that vision are the ones who make the most money. When everyone else is going right, if you've really thought about left and you truly have diligenced that and you go left, of course all these people are going to judge you and think about you in a different way or laugh at you. But first they laugh at you, then they join you. Then they respect you. Maybe they don't want to, but then they start coming to you and they ask for a job. Or they start asking to invest in your company, like all of my classmates and peers who made fun of me before. And so I'd share that story there to say, first of all, none of those people fucking pay your bills. Just get that right. Their opinions do not pay your fucking bills, and they will never, ever make your success, because they'll never even help you in the first place. They will never make your success. Only you can make your success. And in some ways, if people are acting in a certain way or laughing about you in a certain way, there actually might be something there. Truly, you can see it as a positive signal in some ways, assuming you've really deeply diligenced that this is actually a good idea.
Yeah. You know, at the time, like when you hear those things, the little TikTok or how the dancing video is going, and I remember that from my own journey, you know, how's the podcast, that podcast thing you were doing? Was that fuel for you?
The way I work as a people pleaser at the time, no. It hurt. It genuinely hurt. Now it's a fucking fuel for me. Every time someone doubts us or what have you, or rejects us, what have you, I'm like, I'll show you. Because everyone who believed in me, I'm going to make sure they make fucking millions of dollars. I'm going to make sure that they do. And I will make sure that you know that when you pass on us or you said that thing, look at everything you missed out. And that's fuel for me. It's not as much of a fuel as the mission and everything else and just like being with great people and building cool shit. But goddamn, when I turn on that like angry side, I'm like, yeah, fuck you, dude. Fuck you and your miserable life.
Yeah. I think there's always a mix of the inspiration. I think people that achieve things on a huge level, there's a mix of inspiration, but then also like the chip on the shoulder.
Totally.
So that makes sense. You know what? So you mentioned the 10 posts, especially when someone's starting out. And one of the things that you say is like, if you do those 10 posts, one of them will do decently well. And I think when you get kind of more used to doing content and you've done it over a number of years, you actually have this framework and these set of steps of like analyzing and understanding what good performance is. But for the person that's listening at home, does decently well really is just like they're looking at the views, probably, maybe like the likes or the views.
Correct.
And so, but for you specifically, when you say one of them will do decently well, what do you mean?
I mean something above whatever your account's baseline is right now, which like if you rip your first 10 posts and the average post is like 50 views, by the way, that's totally okay. And that's actually in some ways a good thing because you're still learning how to do well and you don't want to flop in front of a million people. But basically decently well is, let's say, 3 to 5 times your average baseline. So for someone who just started posting on a fresh account, a couple thousand views on a video, that's actually like really, really solid, right? Anything definitely above your follower count threshold is a very, very good video for you or a post for you when you're just starting out.
And then when you mention, because the thing that you say afterwards, you double down on whatever that pattern is. Can you take people behind the scenes? What does doubling down on that pattern? Like when your first video rips and you're doing this story of how you got your first dream job,
yes,
as an underrepresented minority, what does that double down process look like?
It can be as simple as the example that I gave in the beginning, which is my first post was, how do you get a job at Goldman? This is my number one tip. As soon as that video hit, what did I do? I made 5 more on tip number 2, tip number 3, tip number 4, tip number 5. Make it a series. Right? That's one of the most obvious ways. When you think about some of the most successful creators of this generation, they take you on a journey. It's a series, right? It's like the 30 lessons I learned by 30. And then you have 30 videos. This is my journey building a $1 billion company. That's an unending series. And so really take the signals of what works and turn it into some sort of series.
You know, that's powerful. I think about the idea of like find your series. Like if you could just find your first series, like what's the thing that you could do like 30 days, like the challenge, you know, we've all seen those challenges.
Totally.
You know what? So we start with step 1, find your Venn diagram. Step 2, show up for 100 days. Step 3 was let them tell you what to sell.
Yes.
And then provide it.
Yes.
And so this is what you said. You said your audience or the people around you will tell you what to sell. There's no science behind this. You know, even the way that the way I read it out, the words that you use, there's no science behind this. It sounds very simple. Can you explain it to people? Your audience will tell you what to sell.
The market pulls. You will feel the market pull. What I mean by that, and I'll give an example of my story. So, especially for folks who are like, I only have a couple hundred followers or maybe a couple thousand followers, I'll never make money. I'll give you me as an example, and I can give you so many stand creators as an example. So when I first started Stan, I made a second account. It's called Coach Hoovy, Coach_Hoovy. You can still look it up on TikTok. The videos are incredibly cringe. I'm so embarrassed that they're still online, but I keep it up as proof. I posted a video on Coach Hoovy every day for 60 days, specifically teaching you how do you monetize online. And I say that to say, every single day, I would go through and I see who would comment and who would follow my account. And for anyone that would follow my account that seemed like a qualified leader, a qualified customer for the business I was building, which was Stan, I would follow them back and I would shoot them a DM. And I would just genuinely try to understand how they wanted to monetize, where I could help. And then we'd get on a call and I would offer a free coaching call. This is the kind of hustle you have to do when you first start a business. You have a couple hundred customers or a couple hundred followers. In the comments on every video, people would be like, hey, well, like, what do you think about this? How do you optimize your funnel here? How do you optimize the conversion? How do you make sure to get more views top of funnel? How do you convert those followers into customers? Basically, the market will tell you, the customers will tell you, based, number one, on the signal of which videos do well or which posts do well, and then what are their follow-up questions and what are their DMs to you as well. And so the process in which I got validation for Stan and this product that we were building was like, everyone's like, hey, John, I'm really struggling converting on this. Or even back in the day with my first product on Hoovy, like my original account with the resume, it was just literally everyone was like, hey, can I get that resume template? And like, you can throw up a story on your Instagram and be like, hey, like, I'm thinking about like building a business out of this. I'm really passionate about this. I want to make sure this is sustainable living for myself. Like, what of all of these things would you find most valuable? Or like, do you have any sense with a survey? Do you have any sense of like what you would want to purchase from me or like what you'd need help from? Your customers are rooting for you to help them more. That's why they followed you in the first place. And so the market will tell you, aka your audience will tell you, the comments will tell you, the DMs will tell you. And then if you don't have enough signal there, then you reach out to people that are following you and you build a relationship and you just got to get on a call with them, because nothing is a proxy for you putting the manual, nitty-gritty, unsexy effort of getting on the phone with people and just understanding how can I be helpful to them, really consulting them through their problems, and then over the course of 10 calls, understanding the key patterns that you can productize.
Yeah. Actually, I love that advice of you'll start with the 10 posts. One of those posts will do decently well. You'll start getting a few followers from that. And then typically you're like, I think the problem is that in the beginning, without having hundreds of thousands of followers or tens of thousands of followers, people are waiting for this signal where people are like DMing them. They're like it's like you're in this passive state where you're like, oh, okay, but they haven't literally shouted in my face yet that they want this product.
Yeah.
But that's why I love what you mentioned, which is you could just follow back the people that's followed you from the video, and then you could just reach out in their DM. And even there's like tools like even like a ManyChat or whatever, where you could automate this process and you're reaching out to people. And that mindset of just being curious, of just like asking questions.
Totally.
And that will kind of give you, there will be a signal just from having that volume of conversations.
Yes.
And then that's the thing that you create.
Yes.
You know what, for Stan specifically, because at this point, you guys have over 90,000 creators. Give us a look into the behind the scenes for a second and the data specifically that you guys are seeing. Are there certain types of products, offerings that you see typically do well, specifically for people if it's like their first offer? Like, do you even have like a recommendation of what someone should consider for their first offer?
I will give a very specific prescription, but I don't want anyone to think it's gospel. I will tell you that if you use it, you will likely be successful, but everyone's business is different. You get to do what you want. If some part of it doesn't resonate with you, totally cool. So if I were starting up from zero and I wanted to build with high certainty $100,000 business, I would start first with obviously posting content, and then the first thing I would ever offer is some sort of coaching call or booking call for a relatively low price. We're talking 30, 40, $100, something like that. And my goal is just to consult with people and get them on the phone for let's do 10 calls. So let's say I'm in the fitness category. I'm specifically going to try to get people to do a personal training session with me virtually, or a personal training consult with me, or a health plan. My goal is just to get 10 people on. I don't need to make a ton of money from this. It's about testing and validating whether or not people will book with me in the first place and what my message needs to be. Is it, I will help you lose weight in 30 days? Is it, I will help you as a busy mom who works a 9 to 5 and has 2 kids and has no time to exercise, help you lose weight in the 5 minutes between when you go to bed and when you wake up, whatever that is. Basically, how can I get people to book with me in the first place and use me as a container or a vehicle through which they can achieve their outcome? The point of booking those calls is to span that ambient time with your customer. If you do 10 of them, you'll start to understand the patterns of what to productize. Because once you understand the patterns of what to productize, let's say, for example, of the 10 people that booked with me, 7 out of 10 were indeed moms. And they specifically voiced the pain point that like they didn't have enough time to work out. And so they wanted something that they could do in the carpool line. And so maybe that is the signal you have to like, okay, that's the productized signal. I'm going to turn that into a digital product. The second thing I would do that we see a lot of success on with Stan helps you generate recurring income over time, which is a community subscription, which is how do I bring together a bunch of like-minded people who all are passionate about fitness, who actually, there's value in having a group. Actually, it's the accountability piece. Like I'm here as your recurring coach on a one-to-one. We'll do group calls or we'll do coaching calls as part of this community subscription. You also get free content that I don't give anywhere else, but only in the community. And then on top of that, you have this whole other community of people who are also trying to stay fit as well. And so if I were to try to build my first $100,000 business, I would first start with, what are my high ticket coaching calls, right? So what are the times that I can spend time helping someone in some sort of way? And I say coaching call, but what I just mean is like any version of, can you get someone on the phone to help them in a very manual way so you can learn and also help them really, really meaningfully. So whether you're auditing something about them or you're literally helping them get to a part of their journey. Then the second piece is that, okay, the next tier of this, how do I provide more scalable income for myself? And those two pieces that I think about is number one, a digital product that I can scale, that will literally, I can sell in my sleep and literally build once and sell infinity times. And then the second piece is just a community subscription to build more recurring income into my business.
Yeah. Okay. So you let me know if I have this right. So it sounds like for people that are starting out, they're thinking about how they can monetize their content with a small following, like a few hundred, maybe like 1,000 followers. First offer, typically what would work? Coaching call. And it sounds like from what you're saying, it's not even about the price necessarily on the coaching call. Like it's not that you're charging the highest price.
That's correct.
It's more that you're trying to figure out positioning.
Yes.
How you can frame your offer. What sort of things do people need? So there's certain questions that you're asking in order to get a sense of positioning. Actually, just quickly for people, could you very quickly, what are some of those questions, like those positioning style questions that you're even like, what's the top 3 that even you would ask?
People overcomplicate this. You just ask your customer, why did you book with me? What do you think I can help you with? What's the most important thing I can help you with? Those 3 questions themselves will just tell you everything you need to know about what you can offer. And over time, it's like, what, if I were to do these things for you, what would you be open to paying me?
Can you share with people maybe some examples of creators that have hugely monetized off of seemingly pretty small digital product offerings?
Sure. I mean, you just gave a great example of someone selling AI prompts. So I'll give an example of someone who sells AI prompts on Stan and makes like hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. Specifically, Onice. It's Ohneis. He is one of the gods on social media around how do you make AI generated video look cool, which actually is a very complex prompt of like, make sure it's cinematic and this shot angle and this, and this. And I'm not artistic enough to know the rest of the prompt. Dude, those are like $12, $13. Well, guess what you have at the power of your fingertips? The internet. Guess what's on the internet with these social media? Millions of people. And so it's a $12 prompt, but think about also the velocity in which he's shipping these. Every week he's dropping a new prompt with a couple new videos. And so he's clearing thousands of people purchasing these prompts all the time because it's like, wait, that video you're playing is sick. I want to do the same thing for myself, for my own brand or for my own business. $12, I'll easily rip one of those. And then he drops another one the next week. And so the thing about these digital products at times is they're very high velocity. He already made it for himself. Once again, he literally just uploads the prompt into his Stan store and sells it. Like it's just like, it takes 2 seconds and then you just rip videos on it.
Yeah, it's actually a really good framework. And it reminds me of how you started, which is you just take the thing that worked for you.
Correct.
To get the result, and then you can just package that and sell it. And it's not even saying it's package it. You just shared your resume.
Yes.
That successfully got you like the job at Goldman.
Yeah.
And that was the way that you made your first 10,000. Okay, that's valuable. And so, okay, so you make the digital product, and then even in the example that you gave, it sounds like the way that product is promoted and sold is through the content. So for example, if I'm doing all of this on Instagram, it's like I'll have reels that I'm putting out on my page. Yes. And then I guess there's some sort of like call to action or CTA? How are you directing people to the digital product?
There are millions of different ways to do this, and everyone has a different way. One of my favorites, though, is to show, not tell. And so I gave an example before of the fact that we have a bunch of Airbnb creators who use Stan. So I'll use the example of Michael Elefante. He's one of the top creators in that category. And the way we made his first $200,000 was with a $50 cash flow calculator. It was literally an Excel spreadsheet. It was literally just an Excel spreadsheet he was using, where when Michael would go out to analyze whether or not he wanted to buy a property and he thought he could make money off of it as an Airbnb property, he would just throw in all these metrics around the specific property. So what he was buying at, what his mortgage rate was, what he thought he could get on a month-to-month yield, all these kinds of numbers or inputs. And then he would put that in through the calculator, and it would help him understand, do I have a decent chance of making money on this? And so he just started ripping videos. I was like, first of all, Michael, why don't we just package this into something? So he just cleared out the numbers and the inputs, and then he uploaded it to a Stan store. And I go, Michael, why don't we just rip a couple videos where you just analyze different properties and see whether or not you'd make money with them? And so he just started making super viral videos of like, will this $1 million home in Boca Raton, Florida make me money for Airbnb? And he would just go through the cash flow calculator and analyze it with them. And then at the end, he'd be like, by the way, if you want to use this same cash flow calculator, you can build this for yourself, or you can just get it at my Stan store. What do you know? $200,000 off of a $50 spreadsheet. So he was just showing and giving value in a way that the video would naturally perform, because he's just teaching and educating people about, can you analyze this property? And he's just like, by the way, if you want this, just get it from my Stan store.
Yeah. Can you describe and explain to people, why do you have that level of excitement when we take everything that you've just described in terms of content creation, in terms of how people can monetize and make a living from doing it, but then adding that component of AI into it, it increases your level of excitement? Why is that?
Because our jobs as human beings now in this AI world is to be creative and have great ideas. What the AI we've built now just compresses all of the work and the muck and the shit you had to do before. Like, let's say you and I, can we do a live example right now? Which is, if you were to think about what is your version of a guide or a template you would do right now?
Oh, so I have a few ideas. So one would be, I think one of the things that we've done through the show, which I'm like really passionate about, is the number of people that have like bet on themselves and directly from these conversations they've heard, either like built their first AI agent or like started the first business or done the first digital product. So I think about using AI in that process, and even like prompts and a list of prompts that could help someone kind of get clarity on what they should do next would be interesting. You know what? Let's start with that. I could list off quite a few.
Yeah. So the Kickstarter, some sort of Kickstarter guide on how to get to your first AI agent or first product.
Yeah.
Right. That's clearly in your head. So in a non-AI world, I would argue that probably one of the reasons you haven't done that is because of the sheer amount of work. Actually, it's a great idea, great fit for your audience, but like, are you going to spend the next 24 hours building that? Well, amongst everything else you're going to do, are you ready to pop open Canva and make that guide and then pick the little colors?
The evidence would show not.
Right. And so now all you have to do is you have the inherent ideas. Also, you've shared it a ton in your content in the same way you did research with me on AI before this. What does Stanley, our little AI agent, do? He transcribes he goes through all of your content across all the platforms, understands your unique voice, your unique points. You talk to him a couple times. You're like, hey, I want to do this guide. These are some of the things I want to hit. This is like prompt number 1, prompt number 2, prompt number 3. You know, maybe you connect your Notion where all your prompts are. He ingests your Notion too. And out pops the entire thing that you need, right? Because he's doing the manual, like you already have the insights and the ideation. What AI is, if you think about it, in the first stage of it, it's just a really cracked intern. It's just the intern who's going to take all of your great ingenuity and turn that into a digestible product. And so I get really excited about stage 1 of AI, which is, it just feels like when you start using it, it feels like you have superpowers. It literally 10x's your productivity because you go from idea to execution much faster. Whereas before, like you'd have all these good ideas. How many projects have so many people started and never finished because there was too much manual work required to do those things. But anything that's, let's call it a jamming on a keyboard activity, AI can do for you. And so whether it's, in this case, Stanley making your digital product for you, or whether it's also knowing what content to make to actually help you market this, he has all of the data on all the top performing posts on social media. So he can be like, hey, you know, these are the 4 videos that you should do that are related to this, that have outperformed so far, that match your voice and style. And this is the suggested script I have for you. So.
Yeah. You know what? Okay, John, because this is what I want to do, because to give people the context, so Stan, at least how I understand it, starts as like this all-in-one platform for creators to monetize from their content. So you can just you can take your Stan link, which has access, I don't know, to all your digital products, your community, everything you have, and you would just stick that in your bio. Correct. And so you'll see a ton of creators that have their Stan store. I've seen it with Arlen as an example. And now it's like you're in this evolution where you're building Stan Lee, which is like the AI agent that actually helps people create and build products and all of these different things. And so one of the things that I said to you before we spoke, or before we sat down for this conversation, I was like, it'd be really cool if you could just show people what it is. So yeah, let's just do it.
All right, sir.
You ready?
You ready for some magic?
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's say we're starting as a creator who's never created content before. And you're like, holy fuck, what do I make content-wise? And you're like, John, I don't want to do all this work. So we've basically built this internal workflow. We've basically built Stanley here, this AI agent, in a way that he will help you understand first what kind of content you want to make. So if you've already made content before, he'll go in and ingest all of your YouTube, all of your Instagram, all of whatever written form content you've done. So he deeply understands your voice and style, which is something that when you think about the base LLM models, they really struggle with. It's like everyone's had the experience of asking ChatGPT to write them something. It's like, this is AI slop. So we've built our own proprietary brain that deeply understands how to make great content and how to write in your unique style. And so the first place you land on once you start training Stanley is just this dashboard of just like, how are you performing across the board? But more specifically, I mentioned before, one of the best ways that top creators, you and I both know this, make great content is they just see what's already performing in the market. So you already have here on your dashboard a bunch of niche related content that's outperforming. So this is 180x from Brandon Smithwick. This is actually about LinkedIn. Actually, in fact, it knows that specifically I make a lot of content about LinkedIn as a platform. And so I can sit there and just remix this in my specific voice and it'll make me content here. It's also already made me a carousel for today that I could easily edit myself and just change the wording on, change the text, but it's also picked the right photos. So it went through my entire photo album. And based off of a hook that it deems pretty strong that I can also give it feedback on, it's made a carousel for me.
Yeah.
So this is like the definition of what we call like done for you content. We're trying to accelerate the ability for you to make as much content as possible that's valuable.
Yeah.
We're trying to take your IP as a person, right? Your name, image, and likeness, your unique insights, and help you maximize the distribution of that.
Yeah. Can you just share, how does it do that integration? Like, is it manually, am I like uploading things into it? Does it just connect to my YouTube account? Like, how is that done?
It connects to all of your socials first. And then if you want to additionally train Stanley's brain on you in the same way that if you were onboarding with an agency who is doing this for you, you would just give him everything that you have in terms of your context. So any writing that you haven't published online, what have you. If you don't have those socials yet, or you don't have enough online content, then you would just share with him your voice. You could just be like, hey, Stanley, interview me. And you can just voice chat with him and be like, hey, like, ask me 20 questions to get to know me so we can make great content. And then he's been trained in a way where he'll pick up your most interesting stories. He'll pick up the most interesting parts about your personality. He'll pick up the exact words you like to particularly use to really match your style.
Interesting. So you actually have, it's almost like ChatGPT or Claude. Like you have that chat bot built into it.
Yes. But the thing about Stanley that's important to note is that he's much more than just a chat agent, right? He's an employee who's proactively doing work for you. So for example, I can tell him every day at 9 a.m., shoot me a text with a daily brief of all the top performing content in my niche or all the top news, and then suggest to me some remix angles. So these are things we're building that we're launching to, because all of Stanley right now is exclusive. This is exclusive beta. We haven't launched to the public, but in that he's already sourced for me all of the outperformers for today. He's already made me a carousel. And so he's this proactive, we think of like cracked content team that does all the work for you. But it gets, I will say it's about to get way more interesting. I'm going to show you a really, really special feature in Stanley too, that we're launching soon.
Okay. So it's actually, it's from the sound of it, it's actually more than just like a chat feature, which is a feature within it. It's actually like an agent, like it can do autonomous work. So you could say, you can set it on task and it can do it at an actual scheduled checkpoints.
That's correct. In fact, he is also very proactive in a sense that his job, what we've given him, is to maximize your distribution. So I got a text early this morning saying, hey, John, you actually had this outperformer on LinkedIn. Would you like me to cross-post it to Twitter and optimize it for Twitter? And so what you think of this guy as, this little cute Stanley, he's your AI head of content. And his job is to take you and maximize your distribution and optimize it per platform. And so the end goal is to basically just have a content calendar here that is full of all of your updated content for the week and then that posted across all these places, because you can store all your ideas. You can voice note them anytime. You can shoot him a voice note over text when you're in the shower, or when you're on a walk, when you have that bright idea. His job is to help you package that in a way where you don't have to do all like the cranking through like, what's this word, this word, this word, and he can just like fully form that idea for you, store it on your idea bank, and then help you post that.
Yeah.
He'll post and schedule for you too.
This is really cool. I need to get this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, because you mentioned that you had something exciting to share.
Yes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell him that I'm currently with Callum Johnson of the Callum Johnson Show. What video should we make together? I'm thinking something simple like this that we can film in the next minute. The advice we wish we got. I'd be down to do that one.
Okay.
So the reason why we're going to make the video real quick for a minute is because I'm going to show you how Stanley actually is going to edit this video entirely for us.
Oh, nice. Okay, I didn't even know that it edits.
So we're about to roll this out.
Okay, let's do it.
He's very good at a couple of different formats, including talking heads right now, and then we'll be good at all forms of editing over time. But yeah, we'll film this. We'll see how he does, and then we can make any changes we want, and then theoretically I can just press post.
Okay, let's
I
do
can
it.
just tell him to post it. So,
Yeah.
You ready? Cool. All right. So we're going to do advice we wish we got. Let's do 4 lessons so we can go back and forth. All right. I'm with Callum Johnson, and we're going to share 4 lessons that we wish we got when we were younger. Tip number 1, Callum goes first.
Okay, snap. Damn, you put me on the spot. Advice I wish I'd got. Is it, we're doing around content creation or just anything?
Anything.
Anything. Failure. I think that we should we optimize to be successful. I actually think that we should optimize to fail more and at a faster rate. And that will give us the signal of how we can be successful.
Cool. Advice I wish I got. Number 2. Damn, this is hard. I'm on the spot. And we're also going to see if Stanley edits this. He's theoretically should edit all this out. It is much harder than you think. It's truly, people will tell you it's hard, but it's actually much harder than you think. All right. Number 3.
Turn your back on the audience. I think too often we're looking at people's reactions, thinking about what are people going to think. I think that we create our most powerful, inspired content, inspirational content that resonates with people when we turn our back to the audience.
Wow, that's a powerful one. Number 4 and last is to give immense value. If you give value, you will succeed over time because karma is real. All right, so we stumbled a couple times there. We took pauses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this now.
I love it. This is all off the dome, all in live time.
Yes. So we'll see how he does. You never know in these demos, but we'll see if he does a good job. Airdropping the video. Nice. And so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to upload him. And so now we're going to go through this and we're going to see whether or not he edits this well. So right now he's scanning the footage. And what he's going to do is he's going to he's going to transcribe it. He's going to analyze the video. He's going to analyze where we messed up. If we did a couple different takes, he'll take the best take and he's going to cut it all together. He can add captions, he can add stickers, he can add music, all that kind of stuff. And what's really, really cool that we're getting to is specifically in this, soon you'll be able to do this all over your phone, over iMessage. So as in like you send all your footage to Stanley because he helped you script it. Then you just upload or send all the footage over iMessage. You give him a prompt of like, hey, I want you to take this talking head and then I'm sending you some other B-roll clips. I want you to take the narration. So I want you to take this clip from this B-roll and put it over this piece of the narration. You can see him cutting right now. He's cutting all the clips into different segments. And then I want you to overlay this B-roll over this part of the narration, this B-roll here. I want you to add this sticker, what have you. And then he should theoretically, just like how I have a human editor, send me back content on my side. He'll send it to you over text too. And then you can give him any thoughts, or you can obviously edit it yourself as well.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So it's actually almost what's that, like vibe editing? You can give it, so once it gives you the first output, you could give feedback over the text message and then it will action.
Yes.
Oh, that's a game changer.
We're building one of the world's first vibe editors.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's crazy what AI can do in a way that actually truly helps you unleash your creativity rather than suppresses it or replaces it. And that's really our goal with Stanley is like, we all at our fingertips have so many cool creative ideas and business ideas. Can we build Stanley to be basically your AI co-founder or your AI COO who sits there and executes all the content shit that you don't want to be doing? And then also all of the actual business stuff. So like building your sales pages, A/B testing your sales pages, building your digital product, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You know what, when I think about what we spoke about in the beginning of the potential for everyone to be an entrepreneur or like monetize content, it feels like that takes, by taking out all of like the operational side of it, you bring that reality way closer.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty special.
All right. You ready to see if this is good? It says the edit's ready.
Let's see.
I'm nervous.
I'm nervous
It's
as well.
it's always a crapshoot at these early betas, but let's see our edit. Let's see if it's good.
I'm more nervous that I give it enough to work with.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. And also I'm realizing my camera angle wasn't great when I tried to do the selfie style, but you've got the whole transcript here and we can cut stuff as needed. And we're going to share 4 lessons that we wish we got when we were younger. Tip number 1, Calvin goes first.
Okay, snap. Damn, you put me on the spot. I actually think that we should optimize to fail more and at a faster rate, and that will give us the signal of how we can be successful.
2, damn, this is hard. I'm on the spot. And we're also going to see if Stanley edits this. It is much harder than you think.
Turn your back on the audience. I think too often we're looking at people's reactions, thinking about what are people going to think. I think that we create our most powerful, inspirational content that resonates with people when we turn our back to the audience.
Wow, that's a powerful one. Number 4 and last is to give immense value. If you give value, you will succeed over time because karma is real.
Nice.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
there was
it
one
wasn't-
place where I wanted to make a different edit and it specifically had me say number 3, but you can see I can just simply add that clip back in and get that cut.
Yeah.
But like it cut through all of the dead space that we had there.
Yeah.
So it took a 1.5 minute long video and made it 40 seconds.
Yeah.
So
You know, that's so good. You know, John, before we get out of here, there's so many things that you can do with Stanley, right? So you've mentioned a few of them. Like it feels like it could be incredibly beneficial for creators on the research side, on the editing side. If I wanted to repurpose content, so I wanted to take something that I put on Instagram and help me draft something for Twitter or LinkedIn or TikTok, like something else. In your mind, given that you've been across all of this and you've obviously been an integral part of building it, is there one area in particular where specifically for those creators that are like, you're starting out, especially in that kind of like monetization journey, is there a specific thing that Stanley does which you actually think, like projecting forward for when you do release this, you think it's going to be the most valuable to someone?
I think for someone first starting out, the number one thing you need to do is you need to figure out your voice and your unique angle. And what Stanley can be an incredible thought partner on is specifically that. He will help you guardrail and understand what about you is uniquely interesting that we should first focus on and post about, because usually you can't just be your full self. You've got to find that entry wedge or that entry niche. So Stanley will help you hone in on that. And then most importantly, give you confidence on what good looks like. Because I think there's a lot of fear when you first start around like, holy shit, is this video even good? What have you? And if Stanley's sitting there presenting you outperforming validated formats from other top creators in your niche, he's like, hey, John, you should actually use this post from Alex Hormozy that is a validated format and hook, and let's actually weave in your particular story of being an immigrant kid or going to business school, what have you. Stanley will be able to do that for you. And then also on top of that, we've trained him to not be a yes man, right? Like kind of the base models. Instead, he'll give you very candid feedback of what's bad.
As we just saw.
Yeah. So
Yeah. You know what, John, before we get out of here, and this is where I wanted to leave it, because I think momentum is so important, like just taking the action, like just doing the thing. And so I think about the person that's listening at home that, you know, we said this earlier, sitting here right now, they don't see themselves as a creator.
Sure.
Or even as like an entrepreneur.
Sure.
And there's this belief of like, oh, I'd have to have a huge audience in order to monetize. And that's never something that they've wanted. And so if that person is listening at home and they have this like fear of their job prospects or how things could look, they want to start creating, what is it that you would advise them in the next week that they should do immediately after having heard this conversation?
Well, first I'd start with the identity piece that you just mentioned around not seeing yourself as a creator or entrepreneur. You don't need to do either of those things. You don't ever need to feel aligned with those terms. Instead, what I want you to see yourself as is number one, being helpful to other people. I want to be helpful to other people, including my younger self. And then I want to be successful. And what do you know? Some of the inputs oftentimes to both of those things is to make content and to start a business or a product or service that allows you to sustain yourself over time. And so if you don't resonate with the term creator or entrepreneur, that's totally okay. What I hope that you resonate with, and I think we all do as innately as humans, is I want to help other people and build a world that is better than the world that is today that needs a lot of helping. And the most successful vehicle through which to achieve that is oftentimes building a business that has a mission involved with it. And so I'd start there with the framing of like, I don't know if I'm one of those things. I want to remind you that both of us started from nothing. And now we're here with audience because we did it for years, right? You've done this for years. I've done this for years. But when we first started, you didn't have the identity of being a creator or entrepreneur. I definitely didn't either. I was just doing something that my gut said that I deeply wanted to do. And so then I had asked myself the second question of like, do I want to continue living the life that I'm doing? How disappointed in myself would I be if a year from now or 5 years from now I was still on the same track, the same linear track? And so it's up to you as a human being to decide if this is what you want, or if this is what you want, then you can't have that different outcome unless you put in different inputs. And so to be very, very tangible, what they should do next is they need to find some way to put themselves out there this week. You have to commit one way to put yourself out there. That can be making content. And by the way, once again, the formula I gave of like, take the 10 videos in your niche from the favorite accounts that you love and just remix them in your style, talking about whatever you want to talk about. I promise you at least one of those 10 will do decently well. But that's one way to put yourself out there, make your first post. The other one can also just be going door to door and asking for feedback on a business idea you have. Pitching that's terrifying. You can go out to like strangers cold and be like, hey, what do you think is a business idea? Most people don't have the balls to do that, but that would be a really fun one. Or there's some other way that you can just make progress on building that app idea you've always had. There's so many tools out there to do that, right? To set up your stand store, to build an app with Lovable, like whatever that is, there's so many things that you can just take the first step on. And so I would just have them take the first step, recognize the people that you're watching now, they started by taking that first step and then constantly taking one step by one step by one step and then getting knocked back 7 steps. And then what do? We kept going. And so if there's anything I leave anyone with, it's just never give up. It's just like entrepreneurship is a test of pain tolerance. It is deeply painful and will rock you all the time in ways you didn't expect. But the people who get through that are the people who win the outsized outcomes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you know what, John, first of all, just thank you for coming on the show. You nailed it. And I think to your point, I think so often identity like follows actions, It's like you become a creator. If you post 100 videos, doesn't that make you a creator? If you run every day or you run every week for the next year, you're a runner, like you run. And so I think a lot of the times it's like we're waiting to feel that comfort and that being first when it's like, just do the thing, like start with the action. And so I love that, almost like that homework. Like immediately after listening to this conversation, just find one way to put yourself out there, especially online. Just one way to put yourself out there. You stack that up over a consistent period of time. You'll wake up one day, you'll be a creator if that's what you want to be.
Yeah.
John, thank you. This has been awesome.
Absolute pleasure.
So if you enjoyed this conversation and you want to hear even more stories like this, then just click here. And also my team is going to put some more videos that you can watch here. Thank you.